Hi everyone, my name is Feral Druid, I'm a game developer. Welcome back to my channel. So today is a bit of a special video. I have received a very interesting comment and request from one of you, and I was writing a long comment to explain him and respond to him on how to face the challenge that he's going to face. He asked for my opinion. And at some point, I was like, there is no way to make it short. And why don't I just make a video of it? So, yes, this is what we will do. We will respond to the question, a comment, in a video specifically designed to respond to our guy. So the question is the following. I'm planning to build, mostly alone, a live service by myself. I know that what I will develop will 100% work business wise. So he knows it will work, his game will work. The game will be incredibly fun and addicting in play. What do you think I should be wary the most? It can be anything: manage infrastructure, cost, lawyer, game design, etc. So there are a lot of things. And let's begin with the first ones. Okay, so first of all, we are talking about a GaaS or game as a service or live service game, as he calls it. And we're talking about something that is developed fully by a single person. So most likely, my assumption is that the budget is not ginormous. Mm, there are multiple things to be wary of, to be honest. So let's begin with the first ones. Why GaaS succeed and why GaaS fail. So what many GaaS game fail because there is no player base. So the first concept is why do multiple GaaS force multiplayer into the gameplay? All the GaaS force multiplayer and push for multiplayer interaction for a very simple reason. Multiplayer, in some way, allow people to spend more money on their game, allow people to play for longer sometimes. It make the experience sometimes more various. That's why you have many PvE, PvP, but multiplayer co-op games in the GaaS space. So for example, you can look at Diablo, Path of Exile, or you can look at all the various shooting game, or League of Legends, that is one of the most, for maybe the first real life service, of Fortnite. The reason why you have multiplayer is because people, by playing, will see other people buying skins, and for example, and that will push them to buy them. So these are all psychological things that they do. Uh, there is a downside with all of this. By forcing many dynamics and designing only for multiplayer, because most of these games are not fun in single player, you risk to create a problem for the people that are playing in single player, or if you're not going to have a big number of people playing. One example is Concord. Actually, the best example is the comparison in between Concord from Sony and Highguard that was just released. And there are many people that are saying that Highguard was destroyed or killed some way by Jeff Keighley. That is absolutely wrong in my personal opinion. Jeff Keighley did nothing to Highguard. Of course, there was a big spotlight on the game, but that allowed Highguard to have 90,000 players at launch. 90,000 players mean you have a huge exposition of people that may try your game. Concord, that was not a free-to-play, was already condemned by the public at the beginning. Instead of having 90,000 players, it had something like 10,000, I don't even remember, and it died instantly. What is the difference in between the two? The cost at the beginning. Concord was a game that costed $40. Highguard is a free to play. So with the exposition, Highguard is a free to play. It costs nothing to try it. So even if people try to shit on it, they will try. And if you have made a good game, they will play it. But this is because there was the exposition. If Highguard didn't have Geoff Keighley pushing it, it would have come out. It would be like, okay, they would have shadow dropped it and no one would have been interested. And I expect that their player count would have been around 30,000 or maybe less at the launch. So this is the first problem, player base. The reason why Highguard is dying is because life as service game require a long-standing player base. You play a game because you expect it to last long. Look at World of Warcraft, look at other games. You know that what you are going to do, the money you're going to spend, will be supported for a long time. The skills you are acquiring, right? In Highguard is a multiplayer game where you're playing against other players, but the moment you begin to have to wait to play because there are not enough people to play against, you already begin to feel like, okay, the game is already dying. And if the game is dying, why do I play it? Because, okay, you play for 1 month iGuard because you like it, and then they will close it or whatever. It will not be developed properly. So you know already that the game is not going to last for long. Why would you spend money on it? This is kind of a snowball effect, right? If I don't have trust in the game, I will not play the game because I know that whatever I do for the game will die soon. This is the huge, huge problem of gas, that they 100% rely on people trust. It's like, basically, it's like a stock market investment. If people believe that your company will succeed, they will invest in your company, you will have more money. If they do not have trust in you, they will not give you money. That will not give you the chance to improve your company, and the other people will see it falling down and no one will invest. So gas are very challenging game, especially if it is your first game. I don't know what is the kind of game you want to develop in this specific case. But I can tell you that it's very challenging to make a multiplayer game that is also a gas, that is also keeping people with one person. The main problem is that gas rely on selling multiple skin and multiple things, and they have to be extremely attractive. Therefore, I assume you're not making a pixel art game. It will be most likely a 3D game. But on the other side, what are you selling that people are enjoying or that they will pay for? Because live service mean they have to pay for. So yeah, first point is how many people you will get. You need a strong burst at the beginning. So you have to ensure that at least you have some, I would say at the minimum, a good streamer that, like, if you have a streamer that is your friend that has, I don't know, 20,000, 40,000 people following him, that would be a very good beginning. You make him play the game. It doesn't have to be anything like a review, but he can play the game and have fun with someone. That would be a good start. If people see that it is enjoyable as a game and it has good potential, they will play it. I don't think it's really possible to make a gas alone, and I will explain you why. So you need a good multiplayer, a good gameplay. You need to do map design. You need to do a lot of menu and stuff like that. And even if you use Unreal Engine or Unity or Godot, all of these things require a lot of work. And I don't know what is the level of experience that you have. The 100% alone or mostly alone is the thing that I consider to be challenging in what you want to do, because net code, so the network part alone, can be extremely challenging. And you can use a real engine that has a lot of these tools available, and you can save a lot of time. But you have to remember, the moment you switch from a single player game to the multiplayer game, you have another problem: cheating. How do you prevent people from doing the stuff by cheating? So, for example, you make a single player game where there are a lot of, let's assume you make a single player live service. So you have a lot of unlockable. You get what I mean? And you want to use them to push people to spend money on your game, right? How are you going to make it work? How are you going to force people to spend money and not spend them on something else? Okay, but how do you prevent them from unlocking this thing by themselves with some mod? These are all things that require a lot of knowledge, and you have to design the game in specific ways. There is a reason why every game use anti-cheat and stuff like that. It's because it's very challenging to avoid people from cheating and do stuff like that. In single player, cheating is a bit less of a problem, but if you can somewhat modify some parameters in the game and have all the skins and all the things that you sell available, why would they spend money, right? So it's a bit of a mixed bag. You have to be careful with that. On the other side, network, if you're going to do multiplayer, because you asked me for the managing the infrastructure is not a big deal if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you need someone to do it. Lawyers, I don't think is very important at the beginning. Of course, it's a gas, so it's a bit tricky, but you can most likely get out with having just a contract designed by a lawyer and hire one on if something rises as a problem, or just the moment before publishing the game, ask him what to be careful about, what to avoid, so that you know what you're dealing with. Game design, well, game design wise, I would say design a game that works in single player mostly, just to avoid the problem of there are not enough players in general to play with, so create a problem. One game that I think did extremely well all of these things that you are suggesting was the zombie game. What was the name of it? The zombie game on Steam. It came out like in 2015. It was made by a 16-year-old. Let me see if I can find it. It was an Unturned, I think. Yes, Unturned. Sorry, I have to look on it. Look about it. So if you look Unturned, that was a gas that was successful enough. The guy was extremely lucky, but I would suggest to look into it and to try to understand the story of Unturned. That is for sure a game that you should try to look into the beginning story. I don't know how it's going now and how it works, but the way it was working, well, it's not really a game as a service because I don't know if he's selling many skins or stuff like that, but it was able to create this game, multiplayer co-op with an open map. It was only multiplayer with very simple zombie logic, very simple to design and simple to make. Map design mostly, creating system like where you can just place stuff on the vehicles, attach them, and do cool things. And a good enough netcode that you can play together with your friends, and that's it. You play. I don't think you need a voice chatting game. I think that these things are completely useless and they are something that only big companies use because they feel like they can control whatever. I mean, people will use Discord anyway. If I want to chat with my friend, I use Discord. Unless you have a very specific game design, like you want to have audio working in specific ways, like there has to be no audio further than a given distance, you can try to force it into layers, but in general, it will not work. They will use Discord. So in a PvP environment, like player versus player, never do something that is limiting the player that can be avoided by just using external tools that you cannot prevent, like communicating outside of the system. Design in a way that you don't have to think about that if it is a PvP. So with that said, I would say that most of the suggestions that I have is this. Consider the time of development. A live service will take for a single person a very, very long time to develop if you're starting from scratch. I don't know how much experience you have, but making the menus alone will take time. I can say 1 or 2 months to do just the menus and the interface. Making the online and testing the online other months. Game mechanics and ensuring they are working together months. So I would suggest you to consider that your game development will take at the minimum 4 to 5 years to get a full game that is to the level that you can commercialize it, if you get what I mean. Unturned was a bit of a different story, but I don't know what you're planning to do. If you're planning to do something extremely simple like that, maybe you can get out with 1 year, 2 years and go in early access. But if you want to make a game that is that is attracting a lot of players, then you have to refine it a bit better. You cannot just have it not being great. And again, virality is the most important part today. If you get something that is funny, look at Peak, the game for climbing, look at Are We There Yet, look at all these games that are co-op and working well. If you want it to be a live service, you cannot point on having a very cheap price at the beginning. Probably you have to be free. And then you have to have people wanting to keep playing your game at the beginning. So I would focus on making a game that is fun for the sake of being fun, addicting. For the first 2 weeks, most likely I would not have anything that push people into spending money. Make a game that works even without spending money. All the live service that really work are the ones that are fun without spending money. And then after 1 month playing it, you're like, you know what? I have enjoyed this game for 1 month. You know what? I will give you money. You have a small team. You don't need to push huge costs on people. You don't need to create whaling system and everything else that is done by gacha and all the other things. Go for I need just a small amount of money to succeed. Make something that people will love, people will play, people will enjoy without thinking too much about the money. And then later, for example, just having a donation system would allow to most likely, if you have a lot of players, the donation system will allow you to get a bit of money and then you can add something that you can buy in the game. But don't make people feel like if they're not spending money, they will not get a full experience. I feel like this is the biggest problem with many of these games, where they aim for, they have a big enough public, for example, League of Legends or other, where they can afford to make you feel like that because they are trying to keep the very expensive, like the people that spend a lot of money, the whales. But in your case, you most likely want to keep a huge player base at the beginning, so try to force that. But keep in mind also there are running server costs and everything else, so it has to be a very light game on the server, my suggestion, so that you don't have to spend that many money on the server. So I don't know. I hope that this was helping you. I also would be careful with the choice of the engine that you use for developing the game. But the question is very generic, and I like it. I think it's a very nice question. I think it's very important for people to understand a bit more about the space of games when they are entering into it. I hope that you liked my answer. I don't use a script. I just go with my flow, mind flow. I think it's more natural, and I prefer this when I make a video. I don't like to have a script and reading from the script. I can tell when people do it in the video and I don't like it. With that said, I hope for the person that asked this question that it was an helpful response. And to everyone else, I hope that also it was an interesting point of view. Let me know what you think, comment, subscribe, the usual, and see you in the next video. Bye.